New today, Donald Trump is making headlines for opting not to sign an Illinois loyalty oath in which presidential candidates swear they won't try to overthrow the government. The pledge is not required, but it is a tradition that dates back to the 1950s. The Washington Post says both President Biden and Ron DeSantis have already signed it. Joining me now is Kurt Bardella, LA Times contributor, Democratic strategist, and former House Oversight Committee spokesperson for Republicans, Republican strategist Susan Del Percio, and former Florida Congressman David Jolly. Both of them are MSNBC political analysts. Good to see all three of you. Kurt, I'm going to start with you because I'm curious how significant you think Trump's decision is not to sign this oath. And about the timing, what do you make of it considering yesterday was the third anniversary of January 6th?
I think it's completely on brand for Donald Trump. I mean, this is someone who just yesterday referred to those who are being prosecuted and incarcerated for their role in participating in January 6th. He refers to them as hostages. He refers to them as political prisoners. He called on President Biden to let them out of jail. So is it any shock that the person who was the architect and certainly the call to arms for January 6th refuses to sign a piece of paper now that would prevent a future January 6th from happening again? Of course it's not. That's exactly who Donald Trump is. It's like that old adage goes. When someone shows you who they are, it's best to believe them the first time. Over and over and over again, Donald Trump has shown us who he is, and he is just living up to that now. You know, here we are 3 years later, and Donald Trump is still pushing false election fraud claims. It's reportedly creating something of a division within his camp. According to the Washington Post, last week Trump posted a report riddled with falsehoods about the 2020 election. But then just hours later, two campaign aides refused to comment on that post, Susan. You've worked on campaigns. What does this tell you about how things are going in Trump world?
Well, things in Trump world are very consistent. Their aides fret whenever he speaks, and Donald Trump doesn't care, and he'll just keep saying whatever he wants to. Realistically, his aides are concerned that a lot of this will come back in the general election. They're feeling very secure about the primary season. And even though we know that this message that Donald Trump tries to put out there, even though it's full of lies, it does resonate with some people, and it does, more importantly, turn off a lot of independents, which is probably who the Trump campaign is most concerned about.
So Congresswoman Elise Stefanik is creating some buzz after appearing on Meet the Press today. Let's take a listen together to some of what she said.
I have concerns about the treatment of January 6 hostages. I believe that we're seeing the weaponization of the federal government against not just President Trump, but we're seeing it against conservatives. The real threat to our democracy is these baseless witch hunt investigations and lawsuits against President Trump. Well, I, of course, would be honored to serve in any capacity in a Trump administration. I'm proud to be the first member of Congress to endorse his reelection. I'm proud to be a strong supporter of President Trump, and he's going to win this November.
So, David, Stefanik hit almost all of the MAGA talking points. A couple of questions here. I'm curious, might they be coordinating? I mean, do you think she reaches out and says, hey, what kind of verbiage should I use? And is she auditioning to be Trump's vice president? Can you see her appeal for Trump?
There is no one in America running harder for Trump's vice presidential slot than Elise Stefanik. That is it. And you recognize even how she increased the pace of her words when she was asked to prove her loyalty to Donald Trump. You saw that. I mean, look, there are far more disappointing and far less humiliating cases in politics today than Elise Stefanik. You have to think of Lindsey Graham as one. The Harvard alum came to Congress really in the image of Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, if you will, actually a Paul Ryan acolyte of some sort, and then quickly evolved into a MAGA Trump Republican. What it does reflect, though, is the dangerous rhetoric of very top Republicans across the country to already affirm that they may question and not accept the legitimacy of the election. I think we should prepare as a country that if Donald Trump does indeed lose to Joe Biden, the presidential nominee himself, Donald Trump, will not accept defeat, and Elise Stefanik and others may not either.